35-25, long pass to Chambers and behind the back.
Did you ever think in your wildest dreams? I guess
KJ to Chambers. Jam!
40 points in the first half for Tom Chambers.
Chambers with 60 points.
Chambers to win the game. He's got it.
Welcome back to Tom Chambers' Greatest Games. In this episode, we go back to the 1990 NBA playoffs with the Phoenix Suns playing the Utah Jazz in a first-round elimination game. With the Jazz holding the home court advantage and Chambers having struggled against the Jazz's stifling defense, the Suns would have the odds stacked against them, and Chambers would need to deliver big under pressure to stave off elimination. It would take outstanding games from Kevin Johnson and Chambers to overcome the relentless Jazz, and this game would come down to a heroic last-second shot by KJ to earn the win and eliminate the Jazz. Chambers would be money in this game, finishing with a game-high 32 points, including shooting a clutch 16 for 16 from the line. So let's go back to May 6, 1990, the Phoenix Suns at the Utah Jazz in Game 5 of the 1990 Western Conference first-round playoffs.
A beautiful afternoon here in Salt Lake City, Utah. That's the exterior of the Salt Palace. Inside, it's standing room only. And the crowd will be looking at a starting lineup like this. Tom Chambers and Thurl Bailey, a key matchup there. Bailey has been frustrating Tom Chambers. And the other key matchup, Kevin Johnson on John Stockton. The head coach for the Utah Jazz in his first full season, Jerry Sloan. And for the Phoenix Suns in his second full season, Cotton Fitzsimmons. Now with a late report on the Phoenix Suns, let's go to the third member of our crew, Jim Gray.
James, I've had the opportunity to talk to several of the Phoenix Suns players, and many of them are very concerned, and quite frankly, they're upset with the performance so far of Tom Chambers in this playoff series. They feel he's trying to do a little bit too much on his own. He's shooting just 14 of 54 from the field, a miserable 31%. I talked to Cotton Fitzsimmons, and Cotton told me that Tom is a great competitor, and he feels he'll snap out of it today. They're going to try and get the ball to him early so that his teammates can regain confidence in him and get him a couple of easy baskets. James?
All right, Jim. There is Tom Chambers, 17 of 54, as Jim mentioned. The officials for today's contest, Bill Oakes, Joe Crawford, and Ed T. Rush. Mark Eaton and Mark West will jump center. West in the dark uniform, Eaton in the white uniform. And it's controlled by the 7'4" Mark Eaton and the Utah Jazz. This is John Stockton.
Now, the Utah Jazz have a very quick ball club themselves, but have preferred to play the power inside game to this man, Malone.
And Malone has found himself doubled and triple teamed every time he touches the ball. Mark Eaton in the offense with the lefty hook. And Tommy, there's a change. Mark Eaton had not been utilized offensively at all in the first 4 games.
And they keep running Stockton into these picks, which gives Johnson even more of a speed advantage.
Chambers finally untracked. So Tom Chambers, his first field goal, he's 1 of 3 from the floor. Now Cotton Fitzsimmons says he does not worry about Chambers. He's a money player. Malone in on Rambis, jump hook. First basket for Karl Malone, averaging 25 in this series. Came back and played extremely well in 2 through 4. This is Hansen for 3.
Very important that Hansen hits those shots to keep the defense off Malone.
Johnson answers right back. So Kevin Johnson, despite the hip pointer, obviously playing well. A good crossover move and pass to Eaton. 6 seconds left on the shot clock. Chambers in the lane. Drops it in. So Tom Chambers, now 2 of 5, trying to get uncorked. Got the first step and the basket. Chambers stripped by Thurl Bailey.
But Tom Chambers, James, was out there on the front end of the break. That's when he's at his best.
And Tommy, why has he not been able to get out on the break in this series?
Well, I think particularly because Thurl Bailey is a guy that can step with him, and he's an outstanding power forward, but when you use Rambis, he in essence becomes the quick forward, and not a very fast one at that. So Bailey is able to stay with him.
2 for 2 at the free throw line for Tom Chambers. Jazz on top by 4. Hansen for 3. Second three-pointer for Bobby Hansen, and he's got 8. And Kevin Johnson coming right back. Kevin Johnson with 9 first-quarter points. Series thus far in Game 1. Kevin Johnson out with the flu. Only 9 minutes of play, no points, 5 assists. They lose. In Game 2, Mark West tied the club playoff rebounding record with 21 rebounds. They win that, the Phoenix Suns. In Game 3, Kevin Johnson comes back big, 29 points, 12 assists, and a Phoenix victory there. Tied up a big victory by Utah, where they hadn't won in Phoenix in 4 years. Karl Malone breaks out of a scoring slump, and the series all tied 2 apiece. The winner moves on to play the Los Angeles Lakers in the opening of the Western Conference semifinals.
Use the pick, shoot the outside shot instead of penetrating.
And Tom Chambers is fouled by Mark Eaton. Now, one thing Cotton Fitzsimmons would like to do is to get Mark Eaton out of the ball game.
You're going to see how big this man is. Chambers is 6'10". Mark Eaton, with his arms out there, blocks out the sunshine. You can hardly see the basket. So for a little guy like Kevin Johnson, when he goes in there, he can't see anybody because he's surrounded by the mountain man, Mark Eaton.
You see the season numbers for Tom Chambers: 27 points, 7 rebounds, averaging only 17 in this series. 31% from the floor. Has been struggling, but seemingly getting on track now. 3 of 3 from the free throw line so far. Make it 4-4. Malone.
Does he wheel to the middle? Wow.
And Chambers showing his speed. Tom Chambers and Kevin Johnson have scored all 19 points for the Phoenix Suns. They trail by 3. Hornacek, nice penetration and score.
Boy, everybody uses that pick and roll play. It's become an offense, not a play.
Rudd with the desperation shot. So that's the end of the first period with the score. Utah trailing the Suns by 1. Suns use a 10-2 run to move out in front.
Do that today so far.
Eddie Johnson gets the roll. Defending the guard right now, Darrell Griffith, and Bailey's shot blocked.
In the middle.
Stockton working on Hornacek. Over to Thurl Bailey for the score. Stolen by Malone. Slam.
There's Malone up the top, cutting the ball off from going one side to the other. And Rambis, no way, going to catch up with the very speedy Malone. Plus some happy time stuff. That was not a wise shot by Griffith. There were 2 Suns back on it of Phoenix.
Chambers fouled by Karl Malone. That'll be his second personal foul.
That's letting him play like a fast, quick forward instead of playing against Darrell Bailey, who is much quicker than Tom Chambers. So he's getting up the court and getting into good position so they can deliver the ball to him where he likes to shoot.
You see the numbers on Tom Chambers. An 86% free throw shooter, and he nails the second one. Phoenix 7 of 8. Passes out to Eddie Johnson instead, who throws up the shot as he falls and hits the floor. So Eddie Johnson off the bench with 10 points for the Phoenix Suns. Defending Kevin Johnson. Stockton with 2 personal fouls as Eddie Johnson finds the range despite the swat by Thurl Bailey. Malone powering his way inside. You think he's upset? KJ operating on Delaney Rudd. Good defense, better shot. Kevin Johnson drops in his 13th first half point. Rudd trying to answer back, and does. Rambis with the rebound. Here come the Suns. To Hornacek, to Chambers.
Well, there he was, out on the wing. I think he may have cheated up the court a little bit, but his quickness out there, he's a finisher. A big guy going strong to the hoop is difficult to stop.
16 points for Tom Chambers.
There's much question. They'd like to get it to this guy.
And West goes up and takes it out of the air. Will not count as a block. Goaltending. Back to Hornacek. Into West. And West with the quick slam. Now that is his one move inside. Chambers on Malone. Dan Marley from the corner.
Wow. Thurl Bailey just leaped up so high, it was almost like an aiming point for Marley. Just get it over his hand and it goes in, and it did.
And a 2-point ball game. Paul Westphal really gave Dan Marley a compliment.
Said it reminded him of a young John Havlicek, and I'm pretty sure he's right. Going to be that kind of player.
Karl Malone. Malone waits for the double team to break and score. Suns get it back. Hansen tried to save it. And a reach-in foul. And if this is on Karl Malone, that'll be his 4th foul. And that is a 4th on Karl Malone, so he'll have to take his enthusiasm and aggressiveness to the bench. Thurl Bailey.
The Phoenix Suns have gone to the very small lineup, and Jerry Sloan is resisting the temptation to go lower and smaller. He's kept Eaton in the game. This is Cotton Fitzsimmons' bid to try and get Eaton out of the paint. Go small, and maybe we'll put a small man on him and get a foul or two on him. It hasn't worked so far.
Well, let me question myself. I said Utah will make that Phoenix in a far worse shape because they've got more players in foul trouble, but Karl Malone is such a big part of the Utah Jazz offense.
Well, certainly when you get in foul trouble with your key player, that hurts. And right now, one of the low post option that's do it. There are a few of those around.
KJ fouled but scores. So Kevin Johnson
forces Stockton out one-on-one. Little crossover dribble got Stockton moving, and Stockton tries to regain.
A very successful franchise in this, the smallest of the NBA cities. Utah on top by 7. Spurs and Trailblazers already in semifinal action in the Western Conference. The Lakers sitting and waiting to play the winner of this contest here. And boy, what a team in waiting, Tom Hansen, Magic Johnson. Boy, talk about
with this small unit. Good move by Cotton Fitzsimmons.
Kevin Johnson. Kevin Johnson spending a lot of time on the floor, but scoring well, 22 points. Phoenix and Utah, Jazz on top by 4. 1.4 seconds remaining in the third. James Brown along with Tom Hansen. Lob for Perry, and Phoenix scores. So that's the end of the third period with the score. Jazz on top by 2. We'll return to the Salt Palace after this message and a word from your local station. The epitome of calm on the floor, John Stockton, as Chambers has the ball stripped by Malone. Stockton up to Edwards.
And West has got foul problems with 4.
Good ball movement. This is Griffith for 3. West, stolen by Griffith. Edwards.
Edwards at the quick forward spot.
That's worked to their advantage to give them this 10-point lead.
But all the good decisions, good fast break opportunities. Jerry wants.
Stockton wide open.
You know, he deserves to take a shot or 2 in this ball game.
Kevin Johnson, Hornacek, Mark West, Tom Chambers, and Eddie Johnson, the 5 on the floor for Phoenix. And Karl Malone for Utah. Karl Malone has 5. John Stockton has 3. For the Suns, Eddie Johnson with 5. Mark West and Tom Chambers with 4 apiece.
Well, when you have Karl Malone, you've got the real power inside player, and it was paying dividends. And as a consequence, Cotton Fitzsimmons tried to do likewise with Tom Chambers, and it would have been more beneficial probably for Malone to have let him score the 2 points.
Chambers with 20 points, but only 1 field goal this half. An 8-point Jazz lead with 8:28 remaining. Pick and roll for the Jazz. Griffith, make that Edwards. Back to Bailey. Deflected by Edwards, gets his own rebound, and he's fouled. Take your pick.
Eddie Johnson is on the floor, so he'll probably be at the guard spot.
Chambers is perfect from the free throw line, 11 for 11, as Dan Marley comes in to replace Mark West.
Well, this is one of those attempts to make it smaller and quicker. Chambers will end up with Mark Eaton, and Fitzsimmons is trying to force matchups to his favor.
Chambers cuts Utah's lead to 8 with 8 minutes exactly remaining. Good ball movement. Johnson for 3. Eddie Johnson finds the range from three-point land. Bailey. Cotton Fitzsimmons calls a timeout. 95-86 Utah lead, 6:53 remaining. Here come the Suns, trailing by 9. Chambers hammered by Blue Edwards.
Phoenix Suns ball club on any penetration are looking for Eaton's man. Now it happens to be Chambers. So they will put the ball in the hands of one of their good offensive people. However, he has not had the monster game that perhaps they thought he might have in this one.
Chambers has 23 points, and he's 13 of 13 from the free throw line. Make it 14 of 14. Suns control the tap. Chambers wide open.
Chambers.
Tom Chambers drops in his 26th point. Hornacek with the rebound on a forced shot, although Malone was hammered. Chambers taking it to the basket. 28 points for Tom Chambers, who's shooting 50% from the field, a far cry from the 31% he had been averaging through the first 4 games.
I think Chambers got a piece of that ball.
Chambers 6 straight points to cut the Jazz lead to 3. And they go back inside to Chambers. And they count the 2 as Thurl Bailey went up inside the basket for offensive goaltending. So Tom Chambers, continuing to play well, has dropped in 30 points, 8 straight, to cut Utah's lead to 1.
And he's the matchup. He is a competitor.
Malone blocked by Mark West. Bailey gets the loose ball and scores. 11 for Mark West. Chambers fouled by Thurl Bailey. Number 3 on Thurl.
But they got Chambers out on the wing again, and before Thurl Bailey could catch up to him, Chambers had turned the corner towards the hoop. And Chambers, a very, very good free throw shooter, and be most effective within 2 minutes of the end of a game like this.
And most effective at the free throw line, a perfect 14 of 14. Well, Cotton Fitzsimmons said that Tom Chambers is a money player, and he's delivered big today. 31 points thus far. Phoenix is 11 of 12 at the free throw line in this quarter. 2 6'1" point guards, Kevin Johnson and John Stockton. And Phoenix controls the tap. Eddie Johnson for 3. And Phoenix takes the lead by 1 on that 3-point shot by Eddie Johnson, his second of the game. 1:12 remaining. Under a minute to play. Jazz up by 1. Eddie Johnson runs into Mark Eaton, and it goes over to Utah.
Took the pain away once again from the Suns offense.
Phoenix will get the ball back again. Suns trailing by 1. Under 10 on the shot clock. Here comes Phoenix. 6-second difference between the game and shot clock. Eddie Johnson, and scores off the glass and is fouled by Bobby Hansen. Eddie Johnson with 22 points.
Eddie Johnson ends up on the side on the up quick of Kevin Johnson. He stepped into it. And I'll tell you, 3 of the Jazz jumped at him. He never lost sight of the rim. Griffith put the ball in the hands of Stockton and let him find the best option. They had a little pick and roll, and they've used Marley on him.
Karl Malone for 2, and he scores. Tie ball game. Mike McGee, Kevin Johnson, Jeff Hornacek, Eddie Johnson, and Tom Chambers, the 5 for Phoenix.
5 3-point shooters in the ball game for the Suns.
McGee back to Kevin Johnson, and he scores. And there are 0.8 of a second remaining. Phoenix on the Kevin Johnson basket, lead it by 2.
Utah have to play their man, and Stockton had him one-on-one. Look at all the defenders pin on the baseline. Wheels in, they cut off the penetration. McGee, an experienced move to get it back out to Kevin Johnson, who had the wide-open jumper at the foul line. To not lose his poise and find the open Kevin Johnson.
Stockton. And that's it. So the Phoenix Suns apply the sunburn, if you will, to the Utah Jazz. Win it 104 to 102.